On today's show, will Kawhi Leonard be making his return on Friday night like anticipated? And we're going to be looking at that game against the Warriors. What can the Clippers do? What do we see on Christmas from the Warriors that the Clippers can take advantage of? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. Covered the Clippers for 5 seasons now on my own personal YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, and the 3rd season here with Locked On Clippers. Subscribe to both channels on YouTube. You can find Locked On Clippers wherever you get your podcasts. And it also has a newsletter now, a Locked On Clippers daily newsletter that I write. We'd really appreciate it if you signed up. And you can do that for free now at lockedondaily.com. And this episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets before an event. For sports, theater, or anything, just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Clipper Nation, hope you had a very good Christmas Eve, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And now we're in that mode. Happy Boxing Day for those that celebrate, although I know that's more of an international holiday. A couple days left in the year of 2024. Now, we're going to be doing a 2024 episode soon, but not in this episode. In this one, we're going to be talking about Kawhi Leonard, his status, and how that affects the potential game against the Warriors, why I believe they're extremely vulnerable, and how we can take advantage. Let's begin with Kawhi news. I've been asked a couple times whether or not he's going to play. And for those that haven't heard, it was reported by Lon Murray, I believe, was the first, our beat writer for The Athletic and guy that we've had on the pod, good friend of the show multiple times. He reported that Kawhi would not be making his return on Friday the 27th against Golden State. So my takeaway there is shucks. You know what I mean? 30 games in, we were hoping that game 31 was the one. Looks like that wait is going to be a little bit longer. Now, am I tripping about it? Not really. I think that even without Kawhi Leonard, we have proven to be a better team than Golden State so far this season. And we can, after, a couple of days rest, whereas Golden State just played a grueling Christmas game that came down to the last minute with the Lakers, that we should probably win the game, honestly, even without Kawhi. But I want to touch on the Kawhi thing for a sec because I wouldn't panic. I know a lot of people were looking forward to first the bobblehead game. He's going to make his return on that one. And then now this game, the 27th, because they said he's in 5-on-5 practices, he's participating, and people were kind of anticipating, and he was traveling with the team on the trip. So that's what led us to believe, he's going to come back. But for all we know, he could come back in a week or so after this game. You know what I'm saying? Maybe next week. Maybe the beginning of the new year. Despite the fact that we don't know when he's coming back, the team has done such a good job of staying afloat that I'm not even begging him to return. You know what I'm saying? I think that this team, as constructed, can still make the play-in. Did I say that before the season? No. Was I wrong? Yes, I was wrong. Because I didn't think Norman Powell was going to average 10 more points a game. If you had told me, Chris Dunn's going to surprise you, he's going to play some of the best defense in the league, I said, you know what? I could see that. Even though I wasn't comfortable enough speaking about Chris Dunn's defense as an NBA player because I have not watched the Jazz consistently. What Clipper fan watches the Jazz consistently? Last year's Jazz. If the Jazz, when they had Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, if you liked watching them, I get it, even though I just would never. The last time I enjoyed watching the Jazz was, okay, I can't lie, I'm guilty of this. 2017, when they beat us, that regular season, because they hadn't been good in several years, I actually liked that team because they had a lot of players I liked, like George Hill. Weirdly, I really liked George Hill back in the day. Gordon Hayward, because I remember him from Butler. But now I'm going off on a tangent. Point being that Norman Powell increased. I was saying about Chris Dunn. Wouldn't have been surprised. If you had told me Derrick Jones Jr. has his career year, I wouldn't have been surprised at all. Zubac's career year, these numbers, nah. If we actually lean into him, I think he could do it. James Harden, nah. I mean, this is who James Harden is. He's an all-time floor raiser. But Norman Powell, that's been... Even Amir Coffey. Like, I know his efficiency is pretty nuts right now, but if you had told me Amir Coffey is going to shoot really well the first 30 games, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Because I don't even know if these shooting splits are necessarily sustainable. But we don't need him shooting 49% from the field and 42% from three for him to have a good season. Let's say those numbers drop to 47% from the field and 39% from three. And still being consistent. We'll take that all day. The outlier is Norman Powell. But because Norman Powell has been so insane, we're a play-in team, even without Kawhi to me. But it also depends on how healthy James Harden and Ivica Zubac can be. I think if those guys are out for an extended period, we are in trouble without Kawhi, right? And we've been thankful so far this season that we've had Ivica Zubac for, every single game of the season? And that's been amazing. We played 30 games. We've had Ivica Zubac for 30. We've had James Harden for 29. And so many other supporting players have barely missed games. So we've been lucky with that. Kawhi Leonard coming back, that's going to obviously be an adjustment period. So whenever that happens, it's going to take a little bit for him to get back to playing like the Kawhi Leonard that we all are familiar with. I also want to make a point that there have been rumors that Steph Curry might not even play because it's a back-to-back that I believe they play the next day after that. So... yeah, if Steph Curry doesn't play, and it's funny because the Warriors early in the season, they had some games without Steph Curry that they beat the Pelicans twice. They were impressive, and I know what you're saying now. Okay, the Pelicans, they suck, but this was a little bit before everyone was getting hurt. So I was pretty surprised with how they were playing offensively without Steph Curry, given that they've lost Klay Thompson. And yeah, they're playing the Phoenix Suns the next day. So my takeaway, though, overall, is Kawhi's not ready yet. It's not the worst thing in the world. Yes, it's a little disappointing, but I think we just keep on going, playing on a brand of basketball, and when Kawhi comes back, he comes back because the team has absolutely killed it. James Harden has absolutely killed it. Ivica Zubac, Ty Lue, coaching staff, and we do it with our defense. I've talked about it, at length so far this season, and I'm very impressed. I was wrong. I thought we'd be like an 11 or 12 seed without Kawhi. But also, again, if you had told me Zubac misses only 2 games, doesn't miss a game the first 30, Harden misses 1, I'd have been like, you never know. But still, I'm not going to act like I was right on this. I was definitely not right on it. But that's why we're okay, is that we're still solid. We're still solid. And this doesn't mean that Kawhi's having a setback or anything. He's still on track to come back in the next couple of weeks. So maybe even next week. I don't know. No one knows. It's Kawhi. But coming up, going to be looking at this game against the Golden State Warriors and what I picked up from Christmas Day that makes them vulnerable. I got to tell you a little something about Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get great deals last minute on tickets up to the start of an event. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I used Game Time for opening night before I got my season tickets this year, and it actually ended up being pretty clutch. Got a pretty solid seat, wasn't too much. And Game Time Picks makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And with their all-in pricing, it shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkouts because those when you include fees, it's so much more expensive than you think. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. I got to tell you a little something about Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. You get so many charges on your card and you're like, oh, when did I pay for this? And what am I paying for here? And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, your LA Clippers are back on Friday night against the Golden State Warriors. The first time we played them this season, we won, and I had a great time at that game. That was honestly one of my favorite games of the season. That was a 102-99 win on November 18th in favor of the good guys. Norman Powell had 23 points to lead the proceedings for us. Zoo had 8 points, 17 rebounds, and James Harden had a double-double with 12 points and 16 assists. We also had double-figure scoring games from Terrence and Amir that night. Now, let's just start with if Steph Curry doesn't play. If Steph Curry doesn't play, we should win this game and probably by double digits. Just take care of business. Anything less than an 18-13 record after that game would be a disappointment for me. Now, even if Steph Curry does play, I think the Golden State Warriors are very vulnerable right now. When we beat them early on in the season, twice, they had one of the best records in the league. They were 10-3. Now, they're 15-14. 10-3. So they were 5. They're 5-11 since that game. 5-12 if you count before that game that we beat them. And if you're wondering why that's happening, let's just take a look at their roster, right? Just take a look at their roster. First of all, there's so much drama in terms of talk around the Warriors right now. Like, not behind the scenes, but you had a player, because of the cyberbullying or whatever's happening online, Brandon Pajemski, wrote out an apology and posted it on social media because he was asked a question. And Steve Kerr essentially is calling out indirectly Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Pajemski in these post-game pressers, talking about these guys don't know how to play with Steph yet. They don't know how to, move the ball in favor of the way. Essentially, they don't know how to play Warriors basketball, right? And they asked Pods about that, and Pods was like, I just do what's best on the floor, whatever. And some people took it as like he's dismissing Steph Curry, respects Steph. This is what, he's uncoachable. And of course, his dads are on Twitter. He follows me. Pods is on Twitter, obviously. These players are seeing more stuff than we realize. And he wrote out an apology. We don't have this type of stuff happening with the Clippers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is right now, the vibes over here are as good as any team in the league. And that is a testament to our coaching staff and our roster. I don't know. Maybe it was taking away number 13. But by the way, number 13 actually got a big win yesterday. But, man, he cannot hit shots, can he? Anyway. Yeah, so the Warriors, they're vulnerable right now. Like, this is a great time for us to strike. Go 3-0 against them. Take away any possibility of tiebreakers against them later in the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you never know what can happen in terms of standings. Let's talk about why they're not good. Like, let's look at the roster, right? Let's look at the roster. Stephen Curry. He's averaging 22.5 points a game. 22.5. I love Steph Curry. That is his lowest PPG, not counting the 2020 season where he only played 5 games and, broke his wrist. That is his lowest points per game since 2012. since before he was like in 2013. That was the year where it was like, I was like, okay, maybe the ankle problems aren't going to be such a big deal. He'll be fine because he just had a really injury-riddled season in 2012, and people were like, man, is he ever going to, because he went from 19 points a game, 17 and a half his rookie year, to just 15 that third year. So then when he had that 23-point season and they made it out of the first round against the Denver Nuggets, that's when Steph showed everybody like, okay, like this guy is going to be great. And then it's been, taking over basketball since then. 22 and a half points a game, and there's no other star on this team. What does that tell you? He gets tired now. He gets tired. He cannot sustain the way he plays throughout the course of, the whole game. And plus, they have less guys that can handle the ball, right? So that forces him to handle the ball more, and that makes him more taxed, and now he can't close games the same way. He turns the ball over a lot when he's on the ball. You know what I'm going to tell you the honest truth? I'm not ready to say this yet, but this is true. James Harden is having a better season than Steph, and you can even argue Norman Powell is having a better season than Steph. Now, do they get guarded like Steph? No, they don't. Norman Powell especially not. James Harden in a different way, more on ball. Steph gets denied off ball and stuff like that in a different way. But James Harden, I would never, and honestly, I can't believe I was even gonna preface it. I was gonna preface it by saying I don't care what the Harden fans think, but I don't. I said the Harden fans are gonna get mad. I don't think James Harden has been better than Steph Curry since maybe 2014. Maybe that's the year I would say maybe James Harden's better than him. Even 2018 Harden, I think Steph Curry, just there was a lot of talent on his team. So you can't fully see how great he is. But everything runs on Steph. I think that James had a better season than him then. But Steph's been better to me every single year after 2014, like pretty clear cut. For me. I don't know about this year, though. And I'm not counting, like the 2020 season, for example. Like, I still think Steph was a better basketball player, but he was hurt. You know what I'm saying? James Harden was still an MVP candidate. But I think I'd take Steph Curry over Harden, which I think most humans would. But now, this season, I think not only has James Harden outplayed him, James Harden might just be better than him now. Because it looks like he's still able to carry this load. Raising the floor, Harden's always been a better floor raiser than Steph because of his pick and roll ability to me. And his passing is just better. But right now, it really feels like Harden, due to his strength, due to his size, the way he's built, he's just, has more energy to close games. Steph looks tired. I have to wait till we get the playoffs, though. If James Harden has another good postseason, I'm ready to say that he's better than Steph now. But Steph is Steph. He won a championship. It was the best player on his team 3 years ago. Less than 3 years ago. So, and last year he averaged like 27 points. So, I don't know, man. I mean, if any Steph Curry fans find this and want to clown me, or Warriors fans, you can have your fun. Like, you can do it. The fact that I'd be standing up for James Harden like this is new for me anyway. But the Dubs are vulnerable. That's just one thing. That's just Steph Curry. Let's look at the rest of the roster. They have no secondary creator. Their best creators besides Steph are Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Pajimski, who Steve Kerr is actively, passively calling out in press conferences, saying that they don't understand how to play with the Warriors. Kuminga, he has no real bag to me. He has no jump shot that's reliable. He's got no go-to move. He's just an athlete right now. A very athletic guy with a lot of talent that can handle the ball. But he doesn't have like a crazy handle. He's just a great handler for his size. Pods has no confidence in his shot right now, and it's completely taken away from other parts of his game. He's only averaging 8 points. He's having a sophomore slump if I've ever seen one, and he's getting attacked online every second. Dennis Schroeder, they just picked up. He could be the next creator, and that's one thing we got to be careful for, right? Dennis Schroeder masterclass. He hasn't had like great shooting games with the Warriors yet. So, and we know Dennis Schroeder, he hasn't necessarily done it against the Clippers that I can think of in the past, but he can get in his bag in pick and roll. He hasn't had one good shooting game with Golden State. He's literally not even shot over 40% or even 40% as a member of the Warriors. So you just never know when he could be due, especially if Steph Curry's out, for him to catch a rhythm like that. But, you just don't want to, you want to stop any surprise guys from going off. Andrew Wiggins is having a bounce back season. 17.5 points a game. You don't want to let him go out for like 30 per se. You can let him get 20 if Steph doesn't play, but don't want to let him go out for 30. With Steph, I don't know. I think our defense is so good. I just don't see Steph having a crazy game if he plays. And then they just don't have the size for me. They have no bigs. Trace Jackson Davis, he's 6'9". They have no center. They didn't address that problem at all. And Draymond Green, he's shooting well from 3, 37%, but he's 42% from the field. His offense is garbage. That performance against the Lakers yesterday doesn't do it for me. They're vulnerable. The Warriors are vulnerable. They're not playing good basketball. We got to beat them. Coming up, though, going to be looking at our upcoming schedule a bit and looking at how there's a potential ability or chance to take advantage of what's finally a friendlier stretch of games. I got to tell you a little something about Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. A rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, Clippers, Warriors on Friday night. Clippers have a chance to take advantage of a vulnerable Dubs team that's not playing the best ball right now, has a record of 15-14. Clippers, as it stands, and now that we're in Game 30, it's okay to look at the standings. We are tied with the Lakers right now with the same exact record at 17-13, yet they've had their two best players all season long. And we actually have the same amount of wins above 500 as the Nuggets with 4. So us three teams are 5, 6, and 7. I don't know why we don't have the tiebreaker of the Lakers. Let's take a look at why. Okay, I don't even know. So I have to look at the tiebreaker rules for that. But, it doesn't matter. We have the same record right now. Things could change tomorrow, and hopefully they do. But we're only 2 games out of 4th place. And Luka Doncic is apparently going to be out for a while. And the Mavericks are the team that's in 4th place. So, there's possibilities there. Now let's look at our upcoming schedule because somebody told me, we have a chance to have this record after, the next 10 games. And he said it's an easy schedule. So let's take a look at what he was talking about. Because you know me, I'm going to give you why I don't look at the schedule past one game. If you've noticed and listened to my show, I almost never go past a week. If I have the time to do an episode of previewing the whole week, let's say it's a Monday episode, we have no game on Sunday night or on the weekend, I'll preview the week. But if you notice, I never go more in depth than I don't go very in depth about anything past the first game. Ever. And I'll explain why. But let's look at the schedule. Golden State, we should win that game. At New Orleans, we should win that game. At San Antonio, it's on a back-to-back. Honestly, I think we should win, but if we lose, I would not be surprised and I wouldn't be too mad because the Spurs are actually pretty good this year and Wemby's taking a huge jump this season. At OKC, it's not an easy game. Okay, I have no idea what this guy was talking about because Atlanta, we play at home in LA. I think we should beat them, but they're not a slouch this year. At Minnesota and at Denver is not easy at all. And then Charlotte we should win against them at Intuit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have 2 more games. We want to go the next 10 at Intuit Dome against Miami. That's not going to be easy. I think we should probably, I don't know. That's a tough one. We can win. Versus Brooklyn, we should also beat. And then at Portland after that, we should also win. But those are not very easy games. And this is why I think that that's nonsense. And I'm never going to do stuff like that. First off, in today's league especially, we don't know who's playing night to night. So we can't make predictions on games. Secondly, even before the load management era, which is now, I'd say it started the year after Kawhi won his ring in Toronto, because when people saw that Kawhi could do it and there was a term for it and they won the championship, like, oh, if we rest our players throughout the season, maybe that could work for us. So we've slowly graduated to that. Now with guys with knee soreness, they'll miss games, or toe sore. Like, dude, whose knees aren't sore in the league? But, I get it. I don't agree with it. There's been stats that disagree with it. But everything is different on a case-by-case basis. It's just a larger problem in the league, but we don't have time for that on this episode. Let me just say this. Even before the load management era, though, like, I'll give an example. In 2016-17, our last year at Lob City, I was very nervous because I knew the end was near, right? I knew that if we don't get to the conference finals, they're going to blow this team up. And I obviously didn't want that because I love Blake Griffin and Chris Paul. Even though I never believed we were truly a championship team. But I just thought, like, what combination could you get that's better than Golden State? At least maybe you never know. You can get lucky with an injury or something. Maybe we can just at least get to the conference finals first, then we can go from there. So we started the season like 14-2. If you're a Clipper fan, you remember we started the season like 14-2. I remember my freshman year at CSUN, I would drive to school and I'd look at the standings and I saw Clippers number 1. It was like a dream for me. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, this is so special. And when everybody was writing us off. And then I would start looking at our next 10 games or so. I was like, we should win these. Blake gets hurt after a game against Washington. And now all those predictions I made, looking forward to what our record would be. Oh, we should be 20-10 after this. All out the window. So I've always learned since then, you just take it one game at a time. You just never know what other teams could be going through. They may have injuries. It's unpredictable. You just got to go one game at a time. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, and NBA content. You can also find that on podcast forums. And, of course, you can also find this podcast on podcast forums, but also try to build the YouTube channel as well. Subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video, and get us up to 7,000 subscribers. Really trying to get to that 7K so we can, show everybody what Clipper Nation's all about. And, of course, the newsletter. Sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. I spend time on it every day, so I'd be really appreciative if you sign up. It's really, especially if you miss the pods, it gives you a nice summary of what I said. So, the age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.